is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of No Other Pod. I'm Jimmy, along with my good buddy Dan. And Dan, it has been a solid 10 weeks of MLS play, and we have not been able to have a victory pod in that time. So
Jimmy, what do you want to talk about?
Doing a Cody Rhodes.
Let me hit you with that. Like, what are we going to talk about? Like, it's
No Other Pod. What do you want to talk about?
Listen, I got to give the real MVPs a shout out. Thanks for downloading this shit. Thanks for being here, because this is rough for us, as I'm sure it's rough for you as well. So, I mean, I appreciate you spending your Monday morning with us or whatever it is. That means a lot.
It does. Thank you so much if you're sticking with us and sticking with the team. We appreciate it. But before we get into the game, let me talk to you. And you see what I did there? We're going to do wrestling.
I know not. It's like our COVID podcast where we're just like, what video games you playing, buddy?
You seen any good movies lately?
Yeah.
We always say that when we get a good review or a bad review, a review of any kind, we're going to read them on here. And we noticed the new review. It's actually from May 14th. I don't know if we just missed it or it didn't.
Yeah, dude, you see how it's miscatalogued. Like there's like an April review, or it's weird. It shows that it came before an April review or something. It somehow we missed it. So apologies.
We'll read it now, most of it, and I'll talk about it briefly. The title's cut off. It says great soccer content - skip the ... I'm assuming the last part is politics, or
I think the last part is skip the other soccer podcast : this is the one. They're saying don't listen to any other soccer podcast.
Okay. I'm sure that's it. Based on the review, I'm sure that's it. It's from Maggie, and then a series of numbers after. 4 out of 5 stars. So we'll take it.
That's better than my GPA in high school. Let's go.
There you go. It says, I think they do a great job on soccer analysis and have learned a lot from them. They are critical, but not overly so, and remain dispassionate when they do criticize. I also like the fact that they pose solutions to problems they see with SKC on and off the pitch. Appreciate you, Maggie. Thank you. That's nice. We try to be we're fans. We try to be somewhat level-headed regarding the soccer stuff and not go scorched earth too far one way or the other. So,
all right. Is that the end? Good.
Yep.
Good review.
And that's it. No, that's not it.
Good.
Little bit more. They definitely do have strong opinions on outside issues. Abortion, for one, that they cover in the podcast. Yes, we do. We talked about that when it was up for vote in Kansas. We're pretty vocal that we think women should be able to make medical decisions about their own bodies, along with their medical practitioners, without other people getting involved. It's going to happen again in Missouri here soon, so buckle up. Getting back to the review, I usually just skip by those, but I did downgrade 1 star because I don't listen to any sports podcast for opinions on other things. I'd say the same if they spent time doing food reviews. Okay, well, that's your prerogative, but thanks.
Is that like a stick to sports type comment?
Yeah, we got stick to sports. But
guess what? I'm not a sports guy in the least. Like,
welcome to No Other Pod.
I don't have a sports degree or a journalism degree. Like, I am a person and care about human issues.
Yeah, there was one other paragraph that I'm going to talk about briefly, but I don't want to make myself the center of this thing. It said, as a side note, I do feel a need to mention Jimmy blocked me on X today for providing a link to an article which refuted his claim that, and then they go on to talk about some things that I don't really want to platform because they're factually inaccurate things about transgender people and self-harm. They said I was not.
They did. Huh? Did they send you like a blog from someone in their mom's basement or something?
Well, they said I was not rude or aggressive, just commented on his claim and linked to an article. His claim of being inclusive certainly seems to exclude some things. Now, I couldn't actually find the link to the article. You sent it to me, and it's an anonymous blog post on some website that seems the entire purpose of it is to discredit the existence of transgender people. So probably why I blocked. Now, I do want to talk about this real quick, but like I said, I don't want to make myself the center of this.
Is that an article, though? Do you call it an article?
It's not an article, no.
Okay, I wouldn't call it an article.
It's a post on a website. I did a couple weeks ago block probably hundreds of people on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. It was the Harrison Butker Day, as it shall henceforth be known, because I sent out a couple of tweets talking about how I disagreed with what Butker said, and they got caught up in the right-wing Twitter sphere, and got a lot of people sending some pretty terrible, hateful things to me about myself and about the LGBTQIA plus community. So, yes,
why
you know
are
what?
attacking you on a personal level? Like, who the hell?
Yeah.
Like, if we got to stick to sports, why don't you stick to the issue? Why are you attacking a person like based on physical appearance or mental capacity or whatever? It's like, grow the hell up and have an actual adult conversation.
Yeah. So I you know what? I was like, this is my social media space. Don't need to deal with it. So yeah, I was blocking a number of people. I'm not going to argue about the validity of a blog post or whatever you want to call it that you send, because you know what? I don't believe being inclusive extends to giving equal credence to all perspectives or arguments, because some things are objective fact and others aren't. Now, what I will say is, if you're trying to disprove that the rhetoric, like what Harrison Butker said, is disproportionately harmful to LGBTQIA plus communities, there is plenty of research out there by peer-reviewed studies that show that that is the case. The National Institute of Health, and this trigger warning, the brief discussion of self-harm, says that suicide rate amongst transgender persons are considerably higher compared to the general population, with as much as 50% of people attempting suicide in some way if they identify as transgender. And the University of Ottawa in Canada, in a peer-reviewed study, said that transgender adolescents were 7.6 times as likely to attempt suicide as cisgender peers. So it is a lot of it upsetting to me, and that is why I do block people, because I don't want that in my space. When people start trying to discredit the existence of other people, and maybe it's a little bit fortuitous, just to put a bow on this, that we noticed this leading into our first podcast recording of Pride Month, because we've been pretty open in past years talking about our perspective.
Fucking love it.
On,
Fucking love Pride Month.
On how much we support the LGBTQ plus community. So I do just want to take this moment to any of our listeners who do identify as part of the LGBTQIA plus community. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being you. You're seen. You're valued. You are loved. You are who you're supposed to be, and we unequivocally support you being who you are. So I just wanted to put that out there. Happy Pride Month to everybody who celebrates. And if it bothers you, too bad. So that's all I want to say about that. So let's move on to some terrible soccer, shall we?
I suppose. I do want to say, I do hope this person, I hope that they lobby for your unblockage of them. I would like to hold court and see if you would potentially unblock them in the future.
I mean, I did go back and look through from our podcast account. Actually, I tried to find the tweet. I couldn't find it. So I don't know what their handle is.
That'll happen when you get a lot of hate, and I'm sure your brain was everywhere. And I hope you've had someone to talk to, man. I did not know this was happening to you.
It's okay. I have a great therapist. So
okay, there you go.
It's all good. I'm good. I know it's and like I said, I don't want to make it about me. It's more of a reflection on other people than it is me. So
sure, absolutely.
But we are a podcast that dabbles in things outside of soccer occasionally, although we are a soccer podcast. So welcome to all who listen.
It is what it is, baby.
Speaking of soccer, we did have a couple of pretty terrible games this week. The vibes are not good and have not been good around Sporting Kansas City for quite a period of time. And we had a game on Wednesday hosting Vancouver at Children's Mercy Park. And I, we've talked about, our games must win. Are they not must win? I honestly don't even know how you classify games anymore for Sporting KC. I do know that as of the time of this recording, we're in a worse position, both in terms of points and a 10-game stretch than we were at this point last year. And we all know how last year started. But this game against Vancouver, I mean, I think the most interesting thing about it was when the lineup came out, you weren't able to be there because you were, I think, either doing a show or a rehearsal for a show or what. But I texted you and I was like, things are about to get weird with this lineup. And you looked it up. And I mean, this is a backline of Zoran Basong, Danny Rosero, Castellanos, and Kyrie Shelton at right back in front of John Pulskamp, with a midfield of Felipe Hernandez, Nemanja Radia, and Jake Davis, who had to push up into the midfield because we simply had no other midfielders. And then Steven Afrifa, Willie Agata, and Elenis Vargas. To say this is not the first choice 11, in terms of at least what's been the starting 11 up until this point, would be an understatement. So we all buckled up.
Dude, it didn't... I don't know what we're doing with lineups. Clearly, the person with the bigger paycheck does not get the start. Like, that, you would think they do. You would think so. Like, the person who makes the money is going to be the better player. But, like, Peter's just fucking with us now. Like, come on. This is what he's doing. Even in, like, the post-game pressers, like, it's all kind of, like, basic responses to things. Even our good buddy Chad, well, we could talk about it later, but he said that, God, what did he say? Have you had conversations about your seat getting hot for your job or something? It's like, oh, no, buddy. Oh, you got some brass balls on.
Credit to Chad for being brave to ask it. Because
could you have asked that?
It was not on the list of questions that I was going to ask, largely because I anticipated the answer that he gave. But what I will say, that doesn't mean that there's still not value in asking the question. So good for Chad for asking it.
Oh, stones. Yeah, he's got stones for sure. But like,
we'll talk
this lineup, man. I'm just like, I'm confused. I don't know why. Jesus, man, why Johnny Russell is subbing off the bench, why Alan Polito's subbing off the bench, why Daniel Shallowy's subbing off the bench. I know those guys haven't been really providing anything as starters, but like, wouldn't you rather have them start than sub on? Because now they're not providing anything as subs, so it just all looks ridiculous.
I mean, what I will say, this was not the lineup I expected. I would have expected this lineup a game prior after Peter went scorched earth about effort, but then he didn't really change much. And then said the effort was great. So I was like, okay, I don't know. Maybe it's delayed justice. Who knows? Maybe something happened in training where he's like, I got to change things up. Maybe Wednesday night he was thinking, I'm going to rest my starters because I got 2 midfielders on the roster that are available. And I'm going to chalk this up as a scheduled loss, even though he would never admit that, and then play for Saturday in Minnesota. But what I will say, the definition of crazy, what's the old saying? The definition of crazy is trying the same thing over and over and expecting different results. At least he tried something different.
Sure.
Like the starting 11, as we would call it, that has been the starters with all the designated players and everything, haven't been doing shit in 10 games, really, outside of playing lower division teams in the U.S. Open Cup. So, hey, you know what? Maybe Steven Afrifa's hungry. Maybe Elenis Vargas is hungry. Let's see what they have. I don't blame.
No, they look satiated. I think they're they've eaten. They're okay.
So he tries it. Sporting Kansas City outpossessed Vancouver over the course of the game, as we are one to do. But outside of that, Vancouver really outplayed Sporting Kansas City in just about every other measure of the game.
This was big for Vancouver, by the way, as a club, because they've been struggling. Mm-hmm. And like 7 games or so, haven't done much, and this was huge for them.
Yeah.
So something had to change here for one of these squads, and we were on the low end of that.
Yeah, they outshot us 13-8. They obviously ended up getting the win 2-1. They out XG'd us 1.92 to 0.81. It's yet another game where Sporting Kansas City has under 1 expected goals on the game. Ryan Gauld got his first goal in the 39th minute, essentially off of a set piece. It was a long throw-in, ball's bouncing around in the box, nobody can clear it, and he just puts it past Pulskamp. So 39th minute, you're down, okay. So when that happened, air gets taken out of the whole stadium. You go into halftime, down 1-0. Now, there was a fantastic game at halftime, the media game, if I do say so myself, Sporting Argyle. 1-2.
Did that go well?
We won. Now, there is a little bit of controversy. I was playing defense, as I'm one to do, because it was myself and Aaron Ladd who were playing defense for our team. Nobody else playing defense. There was a goal off of a clearance I attempted to make. There was, I would say, a clear and obvious handball that knocked the ball down in the box that directly led to the goal. I made the VAR symbol. You could see me on the field looking at the ref, calling for VAR. They did not give it. So I was very upset.
This is insane. This is insane how quickly you made this game about yourself. Dude, you were literally talking about Vancouver's goal, and I was about to talk about it, and you're like, but listen, I played as well.
I had to get that out of the way. And then the other thing I want to mention is Aaron Ladd got hit in the balls and then immediately later got hit right in the face with the soccer ball. I don't know if you've seen this clip going around.
No, Aaron. Oh, no.
It was like point blank. He tries to chest a ball down. He misjudges it, goes right off his crotch, and then it bounces, and the person from about 4 feet away blasts it right off his face.
While he's down holding himself in the balls?
He's hunched over, and because he's hunched over, that's why the ball hits him right in the face.
Oh, no. That's like, dude, that's some Three Stooges ass shit right there.
Yeah. So,
well, I'm glad there was some entertainment out here on the soccer field, whether it wasn't the team or not. But
I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you going to say about that?
No, dude, Ryan Gauld is a great player, right? Scottish guy. I think friends with Johnny Russell. I mean, they know each other. They're aware of each other.
Yeah.
But the dude this is the perfect thing of like following your shot, like getting your own rebound in basketball. He shoots it deflects and hits him kind of right in the chest, and he just pitter patters through the fucking defense there and just slots it home. Like, what the hell can you do?
Yeah, I mean, you can clear it better.
Who had time to clear it though? Like, this was just good heads up play by Gauld, right? I mean,
it is a good play by Gauld. I mean, Peter said after the game that the first goal never should have happened. They should have been able to clear it, and it's just yet another set piece goal that they give up.
Do you watch while we do this podcast at all? Do you ever?
I got it pulled up here. Yeah,
dude, look at Basong. Like, this corner kick comes in, and the ball goes over there to Gauld, and Basong just kind of stands there, not marking anybody. There's no one around me, so why do I have to mark anyone?
It was a long throw, not a corner. So I don't know if that's he was caught unawares. He didn't think that it would get there. But it's not an excuse.
Isn't that pretty dope that I thought it was a corner because of how long it was?
It was a good long throw. It was a good long throw. So
very much so. But like that, I mean, it wasn't even a clearance. We didn't get to clear it, did we?
No, there was just a lot of mayhem in the box. Nobody was able to clear it, and then Gauld just slots.
And Basong just over here breaking down a stance like, I don't know, maybe the ball will come to me or something. What the hell's going on?
Don't move. Nobody will see me. It's
a lot of standing around, dude. You got a free foot at the top of the box, just kind of watching. I don't know, man. Shit's weird. I know soccer's a game of effort. I don't know how to even fix a lot of this stuff. It's wild.
I don't think anybody does at this point, because if they did, it would be fixed. But
also, Mr. Gauld here, handsome man, very handsome man. Let's just throw it out there. You got to say it. He's a handsome son of a bitch.
A handsome Scot.
Yeah, no doubt. Him and Johnny, two different people, dude. Johnny with the freaking beard from doggone Braveheart. And
think Johnny and Ryan are going to be watching Clash at the Castle, Scotland.
Oh my God! Should we invite him over?
When Drew McIntyre defeats Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship.
You think so?
I'm calling my shot.
You're calling that?
Yeah.
That's coming up. That's like next week or something.
2 weeks, yeah. A week from Saturday.
15.
Let's go ahead and take our break, because I know we're due for a break. Let's take our break here, and we'll come back, and we'll talk second half, and maybe we'll talk more handsome Scottish men. We'll be right back.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
What is up? It's Tucker Franklin here to tell you about our friends at PXG. And as a golfer for years, I've been hearing PXG say nobody makes golf clubs like we do, period. And you know what? I got to say that they are right. I went in for a fitting and I got to see firsthand for myself. I went and swung the new PXG Black Ops driver, and it is a total game changer. You no longer have to sacrifice distance for forgiveness. That is absolutely huge. And no matter how good the tool is, getting fitted can take your game to a whole new level. And look, they'll even give you a dozen of golf balls for free just for going and doing it. It's the world-class team of PXG experts will analyze every aspect of your swing with every club and give you feedback in real time how to improve. I went in there, got set up with Alex. She looked at my swing, fixed a couple swing things, but ultimately using the technology of the PXG and the Black Ops driver helped exponentially increased my game, added 50 yards to my drive, added more consistency with my shots, less disparity. It was an absolutely huge game-changing experience. If you're thinking PXG's high-performance equipment is too expensive, their clubs often cost less than the so-called leading brands. Here's what you got to do. PXG made me a believer, and they'll do the same thing for every golfer in Kansas City. Visit pxg.com/KCSN Soccer to schedule your fitting at PXG Kansas City. That's 7517 West 119th Street in Overland Park. Get fitted for any club, and you'll get a dozen golf balls for free. That's pxg.com/KCSN Soccer to schedule your fitting. pxg.com/KCSN Soccer. Limit 1 dozen golf balls per person. Promotion ends June 30th. Other terms and conditions may apply. See store for details.
Bro, your boy is busy. Your boy is tired. We just opened our play this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Then I'm back upstairs for musical rehearsals right now until that opens up in July.
Jeez.
So it's a hell of a time. It's fun. You wouldn't do shit like that if it wasn't fun. But I won't make you see the play. You don't got to see the play.
How was opening weekend?
It was great. Yeah, audiences were great. I know you live further away. I'm gonna make you come see Tootsie though. It just is what it is. You're gonna have to come see it. Like I'm saying. So
looking forward to it.
Why wouldn't you?
It'll be good. So, let's see here. Let's talk a little bit more about this second half. Unfortunately, things did not get better for Sporting Kansas City. 82nd minute, they're hunting for a goal. Tim Leibold, I don't know if he has a brain lapse, if he couldn't see temporarily, what happened, but he saw Robbie Gould running the other way and passed it right to him, and he went right down the field and scored a goal one-on-one with John Polskamp. Not much you can do there. It was 2-0. That was essentially all she wrote. It was just a truly terrible giveaway. Sporting did pull one back in stoppage time, thanks to a Kyrie Shelton assist and a Marino Shawnee's goal. It's actually a pretty good little combination from Shelton in the box, but it was too little too late. The Leibold giveaway and the Robbie Gould goal in the box. Ryan Gould, totally different player. Ryan Gould goal in the box earlier was too much to overcome.
Bro, we got to pick this up. I'm hating all of this. It's making me mad. I don't want to even talk about this team anymore. Tim Leibold just makes that pass back. Like, he does it all calm. It's a no-look pass. Look at me. I'm a professional athlete. And then he just puts his head down and runs. Bro, when you make a mistake and a goal comes out of it in soccer, like, it's one thing in basketball, man. Boom. You shake that shit off. You have another play.
Take another shot immediately. But with soccer, that could be like the game.
Mm-hmm.
And, bro, I don't know if I told you this story before, but one time I thought the other team had a handball when I was playing. So I went to pick up the ball. So then a handball is called on me. That kick is out towards like midfield. Well, their little free kick leads to them scoring.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was so pissed. It's the worst.
It's a terrible feeling because the goals are so few and far between in soccer. Like you said, basketball, you give up a basket. Okay. There's going to be, 50 more of those.
So many more baskets.
Yeah. It's, those 2 points, are not going to make or break the game in that moment. But,
we haven't been sold on Tim Leibold forever, man. It's just the guy. I don't know. Sometimes he shows some things. Other times it's like, you're not the guy, are you?
He's a serviceable backup, I would say. Like, if he needs the spot start occasionally, I think that's fine. Logan Ndenbe was starting to become the guy in the playoffs last year, especially, and then he tore his, was it an ACL or Achilles? I don't remember. I think it was an ACL. And so he's out for most, if not all of this year as a result. Leibold, not really a championship level starter, not even a playoff level starter, it would seem. Zoran Basong was sort of an emergency signing. I don't think there's a meaningful difference between Tim Leibold and Zoran Basong. I think they are about of similar caliber. So this is what you're going to get. And it's rather unfortunate.
Yeah. So. And dude, let's just move on to the end of this game because this is the only cool part that happened for us.
Mm-hmm.
Was at the very end, we get a goal back.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyrie Shelton, hustler, dude. Kyrie Shelton hustles on this team. And everyone that's still throwing hate at this man,
what are you doing? Like, that's the problem. That's your problem with this team right now, when there are 10 other guys on the field, but you focusing on one person is a very weird flex. It's a weird thing to do.
It is. People seem to have a personal thing against him.
It's very weird. I'm just like, okay, whatever. If that's what you think the problem with this team is, you're not paying attention, and this is a real grudge for some reason. I don't know. Won't go into it. But the man makes a hustle play, assists it to Marinos, and he puts it away. Marinos goes for a high five from Kyrie at the end of this goal.
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie didn't even go for a high five. Why? Because it's the end of the game, and you got your asses whooped again.
He ran his ass back. Yep.
I would have too. I'd be like, no, man, there's no time for high fives. Like, we've screwed up. This isn't enough.
Yeah. It's not great. Yeah, people are being weird about Kyrie. I will say that he's played a total of, I'm doing quick math here, 127 minutes of MLS play.
So 2 full games.
So not even.
No, not even. Sorry. Yes. So what, game and a third, right?
So people like to throw around his salary. He makes 600 some odd thousand, which, yeah, isn't more.
How much does Johnny make? He was on the freaking bench.
That's the thing. Is it more than his output is worth? Probably. Alan Pulido's paid more than his output is worth right now by a lot.
Yes, he is.
And if someone came to me and said, "Hey, Jimmy, I'm going to pay you 2 to 3 times probably what you're worth. Are you going to take it?" I'm not going to sit there and be like, "You know what? I'd love to, but
that's the thing.
You should pay me less."
Like, what are you mad at him for making money?
Get mad at the guy who gave him the contract.
Yeah,
that's Peter Vermes.
Get mad at the people who were like, "Here's your money," and it's like, well, that's not. He didn't choose it. He didn't write his own check here.
Right. I mean, I remember when they re-signed him. They pay, at this contract. I was surprised. I didn't think that would happen. It was not a decision I necessarily would have made. But still, being like when he checked in on Saturday against Minnesota, some of the replies, I'm just like, y'all need to just go touch grass or something.
Bro, it's like so weird. I just kind of opened my eyes real big. I'm like, this is what people are mad about? That is very strange.
It's weird.
I will say, whenever Kyrie comes on, I get quite excited. One, because I know he's an amazing human being, arguably my best friend in the whole world. And then, and 2, the man is fun to watch out there, dude. He's fast. He's aggressive. Like, he's the kind of player that makes it interesting to watch in a slump like this. Like, if your team's not doing well, you find like other stuff to watch, like, oh, I wonder if that blade of grass will grow throughout this game.
He's not Leo Messi out there, but you know what? Newsflash, nobody on Sporting Kansas City is. Daniel Shalhoub has not been great. Alan Pulido has not been great.
Outside of the conversation that needs to be had, man.
Really? The 2 best players we've had all year are probably Eric Tommy and Memo Rodriguez.
And Marinos Chinese all of a sudden.
Suddenly Marinos Chinese is lightened up.
Yeah.
But outside of those, I mean, like, nobody's really been good. So,
you ready for this? Gonna get serious here. U.S. Open Cup or bust, baby. Like, we gotta just go all in with this, man.
I want to put a pin in that because I actually have a question about that for you here in just a minute.
I'm gonna take that pin.
Only thing I was gonna say is Peter was very complimentary of the guys who played in the first half. I think other than the goal they scored, he says those guys played very well. We created a good amount of chances in the first half. There you go. Other than the goal on the throw-in, outside of that, the guys were very good. They really were. And then he was later asked about the guys in the second half and their urgency. And he goes, I would have liked to have gotten back into the game with them, meaning the starters who came in, Daniel, Alan, Johnny, getting 1, 2, maybe 3 goals. But I don't think we created enough chances with those guys in the game. So, yeah, I don't know. And he was asked specifically about Johnny Russell, Alan Pulido, and Daniel Shalhoub not clicking. And he said, in the beginning of the season, I actually thought we were flying. Johnny was injured for a little bit. We were trying to, based on the personnel we had, because we had to put Eric on the wing, blah, blah, blah. Tommy brings the directness to the goal. But then he goes on to say, obviously, those guys need to get in form and in relationship to each other because at the end of the day, they're the guys that need to do it. So, somewhat critical of him.
I will say a lot of these questions coming at Peter Vermes at the end, like, he's doing the right stuff. If you're a player on that team, do you want your coach saying the most negative, like, mean things? Like, that negative reinforcement isn't good for this team right now.
Sure.
He's trying to stay positive.
Yeah, I don't know what the right thing to do is. I will say...
We got to back your club.
you got to back your club, but I also, like, there's only so many times where you can say, outside of the 3 goals, I thought we played very well. Like, that was quote after the Minnesota game, and I saw a lot of replies that were, basically, other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? And so it's it's not.
It took me a minute. I was like, oh no.
I think that's wearing on people a little bit. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I know more about soccer than Peter Vermes. I do not. He might be seeing things out there where he's like, oh, this is positive or whatnot. And you're right. I don't expect him to be like, this guy sucks, this guy's ass, this guy's trash. Like, that's not going to happen. But I don't know. Really, the closest thing to a plea I heard him say is I kind of asked him about, after the Vancouver game, have you had any conversations with ownership, specifically regarding the transfer window coming up and the position of the team and how is that impacting it? And he said, I think it's very evident. You guys all know we have a designated player spot open, so I'm constantly asking, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get something and secure something here in the summertime. That's the best I can tell you. So he clearly wants a designated player. I don't know that he meant it this way or not, but I also kind of took that as he's not sure yet what ownership is willing to let him do. I'm constantly asking and hoping we're going to be able to get something. That doesn't sound like you're confident that you've been given resources behind you to go out there and make a move. I don't know.
Man, it'd be wild right now is if we have Ronaldo on our team, like it was rumored. Can you believe that? I mean, think about it. And what if we were this bad with Ronaldo on our team?
Oh, it would be so much worse than it is now.
It'd be so crazy.
It'd be so bad.
He'd be like, what am I doing here? This is awful.
It would be an absolute mess of a situation.
I mean, even Leo Messi has players around him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even sure Ronaldo would have anyone here if that happened. But
Ronaldo on the field when Tim Leibold makes that pass.
Bro, he's getting in that ass. He's going over to Leibold and getting in it.
It's just, it's not great. No. I know there were rumors about, could Sporting make a go at Marco Royce? The latest reporting from Tom Bogert says that he's likely going to the LA Galaxy. Surprise. LA
is that right?
Move. So
wasn't St. Louis in the run for a minute?
St. Louis supposedly was in the run. Charlotte had his discovery rights because, a plucky upstart player by the name of Marco Royce that nobody's ever heard about is a discovery player.
Yeah.
And then there's still people who want Antoine Griezmann to come to Sporting Kansas City because he's been rumored to come to MLS for a while. I see no reason other than, sure, he's a Chiefs fan. Why would he come to Sporting Kansas City? He's not going to.
I don't know, bro. We're screwed, man. I want to tell you right now, I mean, this was the time things took a turn last year and we started to put some results together and we did squeeze into the playoffs, but something feels different now. And I feel like I could confidently say, I don't believe we're making the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
That's sad. It's not impossible, but I'm just going to say it. I don't think so.
It certainly feels different because we started to be on the upswing at this point last year. Over the last 10 games, I want to say we're 0 wins, 8 losses, and 2 draws in MLS play with 7 straight losses after Minnesota. So that's worse than the 10-game stretch to start the 2023 season where it was 0 wins, 7 losses, and 3 draws. We have 2 points in the last 10 games. We haven't won since March.
Dude, I'm starting to also see that we aren't going to win a game unless every single person is mistake-free. Mm-hmm. Because if a mistake happens, someone loses a man or doesn't put enough effort in, they capitalize on it every time.
The team has to be perfect to win.
It's like, is every other team perfect? Like, there's no way.
Mm-mm.
But rise of the fact that as things are going right now, Jake Davis, you can't not mark a guy at the back post. Tim Leibold, you can't make that pass. Like, we're going to lose every game.
Yeah, Minnesota, it was more of the same, basically.
I wasn't excited for this, by the way. Normally, I'd be so excited for a double game week, bro. And I was like, oh, boy, here we go.
And we didn't have a current game to sort of balance it out because those have been...
I call them my Listerine. The current or my Listerine when Sporting plays.
They're like a palate cleanser of sorts because although it really does suck that Gabby is now going to be out for the remainder of the year when she was having such a breakout year. But Ebal, who on currently, so
tune in Wednesday. We had a conversation with her.
She stepped in for Gabby and did great. But I don't know, man. The lineup came out and it was close to the same as the one that we had on Wednesday. And so then my theory of, well, he's just resting the starters for Saturday went entirely out the window.
Out the window, dude. Throw it away. That's not the thing at all. He's like clearly trying to make like a point that the starters aren't getting it done, so they're going to come off the bench and maybe they'll be more hungry.
I don't know. He was asked about it after the game, and he just simply said, "Coach's decision."
Yeah, we know it's coach's decision, bro. Like, you made the lineup. We know. What is that about?
Yeah.
There was a soccer game that was played.
Well, he did. He was also asked, what does this team have to do to start turning things around? He said you have to win games and score more goals than the other team.
Good. Thank you for explaining the sport. What the hell? Thank you for explaining what winning is.
And and then of course the quote that people have seen, Taylor Twellman has retweeted it, and all sorts of people have retweeted it. Outside of the 3 goals, I thought we played very well. It's just, like I said, I don't know what I expect from the press conferences.
He gets more mad about referees than he does his own play on the field.
And I believe me, I'm not one. There have been plenty of people like, Peter doesn't even care. I don't believe that. I believe Peter cares very much. If anything, Peter cares too much. Like, he cares more than the rest of it. I mean, this is his livelihood. He didn't, spend most of his adult life playing the sport and being involved in this club to not care. So I simply do not believe in any way it's that he doesn't care. What I do believe is that he might not know how to fix it. It clearly appears that he doesn't know how to fix it. I think this is maybe the most challenging season he's ever faced as a coach. But over the last 3 seasons, this has been a trend in terms of performance.
Did you see Felipe's interview at the end?
Oh, it was not good.
That was a sad man.
It was not good.
It looked like he lost like a pet.
Mm-hmm.
It was so sad.
And quite honestly, as somebody on those press conferences, you can only ask the same thing so many ways. And Peter can only answer the same question so many ways.
It's got to be getting kind of boring for everybody.
It was a quick press conference because what are you going to ask Peter after Minnesota that you didn't already ask him against Vancouver? Hey, okay, yeah, you gave up another set-piece goal. Hey, you gave up another silly goal due to a mental lapse. Hey, you couldn't get anything going in the attack again. Okay, hey, Johnny scored a banger from distance when it was too late to do anything. Let's run it back next week.
It was a sweet banger, though. I was like, dude, did you ever see Bad Boys 2?
I'm going to blow your mind for a second. I don't actually think I've seen any of the Bad Boys movies.
Okay, you should check them out because they're great movies. But when he drove and it was great, he goes, that's how you drive. From now on, that's how you drive. And that's what I think about with Johnny. From now on, that's what you do, Johnny. Because it was so sick. It just, you couldn't celebrate it because of when it was.
Yeah. So, I mean, the goals, you know what happened. Tanny Oluwaseyi, he scores because Jake Davis doesn't mark him at the back post. That's kind of a weakness in Jake's game. He just kind of gets muscled away. Amelia immediately yelling at Jake. Danny Rosero immediately yelling at Jake. I mean, they were not at all happy. And then second half, Robin Ludd, Danny Rosero gets muscled off the ball by Oluwaseyi, and then there's nobody where Robin Ludd is in the middle of the field. And again, it's off of a quick restart, a throw-in. You gotta be ready. And it just, all in all, just another lackluster performance. Arriaga had the third goal. When Kyrie Shelton was in there, he tried to clear it. Didn't really clear it all that well, but nobody else did anything. They just stood there and watched Arriaga hit the ball into the back of the net, and that's their 3 goals.
I've been watching all of these right now, kind of on a loop, and like, God dang, dude, when Jake misses that, when this guy heads it home right in front of Jake Davis, Tim Melia went over there and like chewed his ear off. Yeah. And he even like pushed him away at the end. Like, get up there and play. Like, it was bad, bro. And what a horrible time for Jake. And who was the guy that made that assist? How do you say that name?
On the first goal?
Yeah.
Or on the...
Because he was part of all of them.
Hwangwane, I think.
Isn't that like Oluwaseyi?
Oluwaseyi scored the goal, the first goal.
Oh, okay. Well, he's been all over the damn field that night. Like, both those players. It was it made me scared for anyone to play Minnesota, because Minnesota looked great, and I'm like, are they great, or was it? They didn't even
have Pookie, their star striker, playing for most of the game. And they don't have Emmanuel Reynoso because he's out being crazy, just getting transferred to Tijuana.
He's out there hustling, bro. Dude, also, do you love Minnesota's jerseys or what?
I mean, I kind of like the vibe of the Loons altogether. Like,
bro,
singing the Wonderwall after a win. Like, I'm about it.
But there's it's almost like a starry galaxy at the bottom. Yeah. And one guy put the ball in his shirt to like dry it off. So it made like a globe. And it was like the coolest looking galaxy I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's cool. It
sounds like I was smoking or something. I wasn't even high when I saw this. It was amazing.
You can see the cosmos, man.
I know. That's what it sounds like right now.
Kyrie, he heads the ball away. It's not a good header. I'm not saying that. But what I will say is, literally there's just people standing there not doing anything. Basong, Felipe Hernandez, nobody does anything when Ariad just runs right by them. So this, again, not a good clearance.
Fontas too, man.
Mm-hmm. But this is not all on Kyrie. Kyrie actually probably should have gotten arguably another assist, at least if not an official assist. He was the reason that Willie Agata got sprung on a fantastic breakaway at the end of this game. Willie Agata got all the way into the box and had what I would say might be the worst flop I've ever seen given the circumstances of Johnny had just scored a goal. You're about to get a second goal. Like 2 minutes later, you could literally somehow come back and steal a point when you're down 3 goals.
What minute earlier? They didn't put this in the highlights, did they?
They didn't put this in the highlights, no. I know Chad Smith
wasn't
played for 90. He put up a GIF of it on his Twitter. But Michael Boxall, he doesn't even really touch Willie Agata. He barely breathes on him. And Agata goes down in the box, and all he had to do was stand up and just take a shot, and he probably could have scored. And even if he doesn't take a shot, he's about to get fouled by another defender. But he flopped so hard that I want to find him for simulation. Man. It's just truly terrible.
Also, I get why Willie Agata flopped here. I looked it up on Chad's Twitter here, and the guy slaps at his arm. He does.
But he doesn't really make contact enough for a foul.
But can you slap all of a sudden? Can we do that?
I'm not even sure he hits him, though, from some of the other angles you see.
He gets him right on the shoulder. His shirt moves and everything.
Well, that's soft. That's soft by Willie. You got to stand up. And you got to make a shot.
All right. Good to know I can just go slap someone in the face if I wanted to. Why the hell not? It's soft.
I want to find Willie for simulation. That's all.
I wouldn't fine him for that. Fine. He felt contact and he went down.
He's going to get fined.
I get it.
I will bet you money that he's going to get fined by the disciplinary committee.
Oh, my God. Well, I'm not going to bet you money because this is the dumbest thing to ever bet on in the world.
Before we go too much farther in the game, I do want to say, we always do a Holiday Distillery toast of the match. I guess it's kind of a toast of the match week this time. And we did talk before the episode started recording. Who do we want to be the toast of the match this week? Because 2 pretty bad games. Not a whole lot to celebrate on the field. I do have my Holiday Distillery bourbon whiskey here, the bottled and bond whiskey. What I think we should do for the toast of the match this week is let's give it to the fans. Give it to the Sporting Kansas City fans who, as much as this sucks, are still passionate, who still care, who are still showing up. I know we don't all agree on exactly the path forward for this team necessarily, but one thing I do know is that there are thousands upon thousands of Sporting Kansas City fans who still care deeply for this team and want it to be better. So, toast of the match to the fans who still care, even in the arguable worst stretch of time in this team's recent history.
The ones that are still watching. That's the toast right there.
There you go. Holiday Distillery toast of the match to the Sporting Kansas City fans. I don't know, man. This game, again, like I said, 7 straight loss. Memo, I thought, was decent. He had some passes to Alenis Vargas over the top that got Alenis behind the line. I mean, couldn't quite do anything with it at the end, but at least they were trying something.
Alenis almost had the ball through to Willie Agata early in the game too, man. And it's just the ball just stopped going as fast as it died in the turf, and it was just unfortunate because Willie might have buried that.
He might have. Story of all these games again: 0.69 expected goals for Sporting Kansas City, 1.57 for Minnesota. It's not good. Johnny Russell got his banger. That's all well and good. There were a couple things that the broadcast said, and I was like, they're kind of roasting Sporting Kansas City. Kinder de St. Aubin, the color commentator on the game, said that she was talking to Peter Vermes midweek, and it's clear he doesn't want to answer a lot of questions and just wants to move on to the next match. So part of me was like, okay, it's not just us. It's the MLS season pass commentators as well who are getting the same types of answers. And then Tyler Tellens, I want to say is his name, the play-by-play guy. When Daniel Shalloway and Alan Polito were checking into the match, he said, bringing on two of their supposedly heavy hitters. I was like, damn, supposedly heavy hitter. I mean, it's accurate. Neither one of them are scoring goals this year.
Yeah.
But it's just not a fun time to be a Sporting Kansas City fan. Chad Smith did ask if Peter has had any conversations with ownership about his job security, and Peter's answer was, you can ask them, like you said. And again, credit to Chad for even asking the question, because I wasn't going to ask it.
Hell no. You guys ain't hardly making much money off this shit. I'm not going to get killed.
No. But my takeaway at this point, I'm not saying like it's all said and done and like the season's over, but as of,
You're not comfortable saying that?
I mean, mathematically, it's technically not there, but here's what I did say. I tweeted after the game. I said, at this point, it really does feel like we're just biding time until the offseason when there are so many players who are out of contract and on option years that a real roster overhaul can happen. Because I don't think bringing a player in the middle of the season or two is going to do what this roster needs. The question is Peter Vermes going to be the one to manage that roster overhaul, or is he still going to be around? There are more and more calls from people for Peter Vermes to not be the coach of this team anymore week after week. I'm not necessarily convinced that ownership is going to pull that trigger in the middle of the season, but I don't know. What do you think?
That makes sense that they would not. But if you're looking around the league and if you want to be successful, do what successful people do. Well, clubs that are being successful, that have replaced their managers mid-season and turned things around, like, why wouldn't you just follow suit? Why wouldn't you make that decision? But I think, as you told me, that they would never do that in the middle of U.S. Open Cup. That is something I think you would like Peter to see through, see if something fun could happen at the end.
Yeah, we're about to be in the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open Cup against FC Dallas. So I do not think they're going to jeopardize the chance to win a trophy here. I think they're going to let him get through that tournament. Now the question is, and I've seen this posed by some people, do you think winning the U.S. Open Cup would be enough to save Peter Vermes' job if otherwise the MLS season continued to go the way it is going and we finished last place in the league?
I mean, why is it enough? Just because of a trophy? I mean, what would it signify? Okay, you won 5 games, and 2 of them were against lower division teams, at least so far. But what'd you do in the league? Not much. So I don't know if you can. I don't know how you. Categorize it.
I don't know that it should be. It would give me pause to say, well, yeah, he didn't. If there are enough injuries, which I don't think there are, because I would then argue it's a roster construction issue. But if you can say, well, Johnny was hurt a little bit at the beginning of the year, and then Eric Tommy got hurt, and then we only had 2 midfielders at one point, but he won an Open Cup. If ownership, I don't know what ownership's mindset is, because we haven't heard from ownership. Last year, Sam McDowell of the Kansas City Star talked to Mike Gillig of the ownership group. I'd be very curious. I wouldn't be surprised if he's attempting to work on something now, but I'd be very curious to read an article from somebody that ownership would be willing to talk to, like Sam McDowell, because they're not going to talk to us. They're not going to talk to Chad. They're not going to talk to people, and that's why Peter said go ask them, because he knows that they're not going to answer our questions either. But the Star, somebody they've talked to before, I'd be very curious to see Sam McDowell talk and have a frank conversation with the ownership and see where their head's at. We have heard 0 from Sporting Kansas City ownership this year, and that's why I'm not convinced they're going to make any move until after the season, is because it's the same thing I've been saying about Sporting Kansas City week after week. Why would I expect the results to change when there's been no indication to me that anything is happening to lead to that change? So why would I expect ownership to suddenly decide, Peter Vermes is no longer the man right for the job in the middle of the season when they've given no indication to believe that's the case, including signing him to a contract extension before the 2023 season. So I think the noise is getting louder, and eventually maybe it gets loud enough they have to make a statement or do something. But now we go back to Children's Mercy Park and we face a Seattle Sounders team that's starting to be more on the rise. And we're catching them at the wrong time. They probably should have beat Real Salt Lake, first place RSL, last week. They got unlucky and had a goal at the death that earned them a draw. But the Sounders have moved their way up to the standings and are flirting with a playoff spot now. And they're 7 points ahead of us through the same amount of games. So I just don't see this changing anytime soon, unfortunately.
These would be good points for us at home here against Seattle. I mean, win your conference games, and if there's any positive here, it's that we're at home. Not that we win any games at home or anything, but maybe we can turn something around, man. Maybe something crazy happens. I don't know. Linus Vargas is a fast man. Maybe something wild happens.
We haven't played Seattle since last year, May 7th, 2023. That was when we went out to Lumen Field and won our first game of the year, and that's what started to turn things around. So
wouldn't that be crazy if this game happened to be the game that turned shit around?
It would be.
It'd be like an identical season to last year.
Pretty close. Last time we played them at Children's Mercy Park, they won 4-1. That was in March of 2023. But I don't know. We'll see. They didn't get to play a game on Saturday night because they were scheduled to play the Columbus Crew, and that game got rescheduled because the Crew had to go down to Mexico and take a beating from Pachuca in the CONCACAF Champions Cup final.
Yeah, so, they might have screwed it on this one. It might be done for them.
That sucked.
Yeah. You would at least hold it to like 1-0 or something, right?
Well, no, it's done. It's the one-off final.
Oh, is it a one-off?
They changed it. Yeah, it's a one-off final.
Damn, I was so...
It's done and dusted.
Man, I was like, they got work to make up. No wonder you ain't saying shit.
No, yeah, it's they changed it this year, so it's a one-off final, and the host is determined by who has the better record throughout the tournament.
See, it's tough. It's tough to keep up with these rules sometimes, man. I freaking forget them.
Every year, they're changing the formats of the tournaments, of the playoffs, of the World Cups, of everything.
You know how bad that sucks for like a non-soccer friend of yours to be like, well, tell me about this soccer tournament. And I'll be like, man, I can't remember.
I wish I could. I don't remember what it's called. They made it up last year.
Yeah. Here's kind of the gist. I don't know if this specific rule is still a thing. It may be.
Does it go to extra time? Does it go straight to penalties? Is there VAR? Is there not? I don't know.
Those are legitimate questions I have right now.
I have no idea. I didn't know, honestly, that it was a one-off until I didn't see any marketing for this game, really, from MLS.
I didn't either.
I was like, hold on, the finals tonight in the middle of the rest of all the MLS games that are happening?
Kind of weird.
And then Solomon Rondon kind of just took out the Crew within like the first 14 minutes. So it was not great for Columbus. But apparently they were all shitting themselves in the locker room. Their coach said they were all sick and had diarrhea. So credit to them for fighting through the diarrhea. But maybe that's why they lost 3-0.
I'll get you, man. Montezuma's revenge.
Drank the water in Pachuca. I don't know. We'll watch the Seattle game. I can't say I'm looking forward to it, but I'll be there. I'll be watching. We'll see what happens. Before we kind of move on and end things here soon, one question I have is, let's run a hypothetical with me. Let's say Peter Vermes, for whatever reason, ownership decides we're going in a different direction. It seems to me that Benny Feilhaber is the natural, at least interim coach. Like he probably steps in and finishes the season, I guess.
Do you think that's what happens?
Leads
them to playoff glory with a golden boy.
Would you want / do you think Benny Feilhaber potentially is a good long-term replacement for Peter Vermes? Because one of the questions nobody knows for sure.
I'm biased. That's my guy. If someone's like, who's been your favorite sporting player ever? I say Benny Feilhaber in more ways than one, outside of soccer, for God's sake.
Yeah, his mullet inspired you.
Don't mess with me. Every time he did something with his hair, I was like, I'm going to change that hair. I'm going to grow a mustache. Yeah. But so to think he'd be a good replacement, you just got me legitimately excited. Ooh, I got to cool down, brother. You got me pumped up.
See, this is the two sides of this coin. I think Benny Feilhaber being named Sporting Kansas City head coach, if they did go in a different direction, is one of the few realistic names that would get the Sporting fans very excited. I think people would love to have Benny Feilhaber in charge. The question I have is Benny Feilhaber, who played under Peter Vermes and has now started his coaching career under Peter Vermes and has basically spent the last however many decade and a half of his professional life dealing with Peter Vermes in some way, would he be a different enough change to switch away from Peter Vermes and the things that weren't working? That's the question I have. And nobody knows that. Benny said before he's not beholden to anyone's system, but I think it's a fair thing to wonder.
Yeah, I mean, he's under that system right now. So it would probably be the best thing for Benny's career to okay, now I'm in charge of the system. I can change the system. But as of right now, man, he's still got a boss, and Benny has to do what he's got to do. Yeah,
and I was going to mention what our producer, Nick, also said in the chat, too. If you hire somebody like Benny Feilhaber, you 100,000% need to go get a strong sporting director so Benny can concentrate solely on coaching. Now find somebody who can do the scouting, recruiting, contract stuff, etc. That might be the best change and not have the shadow of Peter Vermes hanging over it altogether, because you might get more sporting directors who are willing to work with someone like Benny Feilhaber than they would be with Peter Vermes, because they know Peter Vermes has so much power with the club. He's been around for so long. He's still going to be the guy. Benny Feilhaber, it'll be more of a traditional, coach, sporting director, coach, general manager relationship. So, yeah, it's impossible to truly answer without knowing who else is available. I mean, Pep Guardiola supposedly leaving Man City after next year. Yeah, he wants to cap off his career living in the bustling metropolis of Kansas City. So,
it's outrageous. Just stop. Just end the podcast.
But I don't know. This is the first time that I have more considered in a serious manner. This may be coming to an end sooner rather than later. So what are those next steps? I don't want to say I've been a Peter Vermes defender per se, but I think I've been somewhat realistic up to this point of I don't think ownership's going to make a move. I don't think ownership's going to make a move. And they haven't. You can only think that for so long. I'd love to hear what ownership's thinking. But at a certain point, too much is too much. And yeah, we're if we're not there, it feels like we're quickly approaching that threshold.
Yeah.
So, before we wrap up, I guess, did you see what happened in the Serie B promotion final today featuring Venezia and Gianluca Busio?
Yeah, did they get promoted?
They won. They beat Cremonese. I don't know how you say it. 1-0. Gianluca Busio had the assist on the game-winning goal. So that's awesome. Now, a little bit of a bad news situation. Gianluca Busio, at the end of the game, suffered what appears to be a hamstring injury and had to be helped off the field. And it didn't necessarily look great. And he's supposed to, 10 days from now, come play in Kansas City with the U.S. Olympic team. His Olympics might be in jeopardy depending on how bad this hamstring injury is. So that would suck, not only if we can't see him in Kansas City, but if he has to miss time in the Olympics.
Hamstring injuries are no joke, man. It's the freaking worst, too, whenever they return, because it's never quite the same.
Hamstrings just, I think there's a hamstring curse upon Sporting Kansas City and former Sporting Kansas City players.
Yeah.
We keep having hamstring injuries. And now it's traveled across the Atlantic Ocean to Italy to get Gianluca Busio.
Oh, my.
So, I know we're at the hour mark, just about. Is there anything else that you want to talk about with our good listeners this week?
Nope. I hope I'm starting to get into a point where it's tough to keep caring. Will I keep watching? Yes, but it's tough to get excited, man. It's rough.
We want something to give us a reason to be excited about this team, and stringing together a series of wins that would help bring some excitement back, and we'll see, because it was about this time last year where we were like, I don't know if we can do it, and we did. Now things are worse this year than they were last year by 3 points at this time, so we'll see. But I don't know, man. We'll do our best to keep it entertaining. We'll find ways to bring in a different spin on the same stuff, so we're not just doing the same talk every week if we keep losing.
There has been so many current events since we last won a game.
Oh, that's true. We're going to talk about this.
Like, seriously, a couple of things we highlighted is that, like, there was a whole ass hush money trial for Donald Trump, and there's conviction, and like that whole thing has happened before Sporting got a win.
The Fall Guy went into theaters, left theaters, and is now out on digital release, all in the span of Sporting Kansas City having not won a game.
It's insane. This is funny. This idea goes out to my buddy Chip Colmia. He said you guys should do something like that.
Yeah.
But if you guys have any other things that have happened since, I might take a little research, but anything that's happened that's been important since Sporting has won, send it over our way, because that's a good laugh.
I did way back in the day when I wrote for a website called Total MLS. There was a period of time that was like almost 400 calendar days between when the Chicago Fire won an away game, I think it was.
Wow.
And I did a similar thing. It was like 10 things that have happened since the Fire won an away game. And it was like the entirety of the Deflategate scandal, like, was broken, like everything happened and was resolved. And that felt like years. And it's like that all happened between when the Fire won away games. So we could do something similar for this.
Hilarious.
So, well, my friends, thank you so much for listening to us. We appreciate you. If you got ideas for how to make this fun, like soccer-related ideas in particular, but hey, any other ideas, send them our way. What do you want to hear when Sporting Kansas City are struggling as much as they are? Because I'm sure we could keep talking every week about, the game was bad and have the same conversations, but let us know what types of stuff you'd like to hear about if the season were to continue down the path it is. You can leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at NoOtherPod, at Dan Kooser, at JCMac03. You can send us an email, nootherpod@gmail.com, or you can check us out, KCSN Soccer on YouTube or via the Kansas City Sports Network app. Happy Pride Month again for everybody who celebrates and acknowledges Pride Month in the way that you should. And until next time, he's Dan, I'm Jimmy. We'll catch y'all later. See ya.
Happy Pride, y'all.